Arkham City, The Order of the World, issue 6, Dan Waters and Danny. So, final issue. It jumps ahead a little bit. We find out it's been like a week and a half since the end of the last issue, which was the group going to Professor Pig's lair.
Mm-hmm.
His factory, his workshop, whatever you want to call it. Slaughterhouse, there you go. And Dr. Joy has been kind of doing her job there. It's kind of like questioned later on. Someone points out that this is actually Pig giving her treatment by letting her feel like she's doing something useful, because this is what she does.
Yeah. Pig's running an asylum, essentially.
Yes. Pig's running his version of an asylum where he wants people to be free, so they're all just sauntering around. One of the big things that this issue revolves around is that she's going around to all the patients and saying, hey, are you really okay with what Pig's about to do? He's going to let someone out, right? And we don't really know who they're talking about for a while. But obviously you as she's talking to more and more people, you're crossing names off. You're like, okay, well, it's not them because they're already up and about. It's not him because he's already walking around. It's not Dr. Phosphorus, it's not Vampire Lady, so on and so on. And she tries to talk Pig out of doing it. It's like, no, we're different from Arkham. We don't have cages. We have whatever. And then it turns out that she's talking about Azrael. That's who it builds up to. Azrael is in this like really medieval cage thing.
He's like bound, like in the cage.
Looks uncomfortable.
I want to know what this device is actually for.
It's a slaughterhouse, so
yeah, it's probably.
I don't think it takes that much imagination, unfortunately.
Yeah, probably just a holding.
Yeah, okay. It's probably for putting like a cow in or something. Yeah, okay. But I mean, it's a pretty. The point I'm making though is it's a pretty unique structure, and she's begging everyone not to let him out, because she knows that Azrael is not like the rest of them. As soon as he's let out, he's going to start fighting the rest of them, and that's just going to be chaos. And Pig's like, no, he's had enough time to understand what we do here. He's going to be like everyone else. He's one of us. He's one of the crazies, so he's going to get the same treatment. And would you believe it? When they let him out, he just, his sword flames
out the fiery sword.
Yeah, and just starts like causing chaos and hacking and all the rest of it.
It's not been a good week or two for Azrael. Throwing kids off of bridges, going after these reformed Arkhamites, because it does seem like Pig has changed the way they treat them, right?
It's working, right? It's unorthodox treatment, but like 10-eyed man.
It's just giving them
in his room.
Yeah, it's giving them all the stuff that they need to do, right? So like Ratcatcher's running through a maze because that's what he needs to do with his mania.
Yeah, well, it's explained at the start that Pig has kind of evolved a little bit, and that he's not just trying to perfect the face anymore, he's trying to perfect the mind. So that's why he's kind of obsessed with fixing them all.
Which I love that, because the Pig that we saw early on seemed very sinister and just like a monster.
Well, I think
it's...
I mean, it still is a little bit, because it's not like because we say fix, we would mean, cure and rehabilitate and be a normal member of society. Whereas he's quite happy to turn them into like the perfect version of who they are, which is so Ratcatcher running in a maze. Like, that's not really curing them, but
no,
and it keeps him safe and stops him.
Yeah,
it's more humane, arguably, right?
But in that. That's also Pig knowing there's a twist to it, right? Because like when he makes the Dollatrons, he knows he's removing people's faces and putting porcelain ones on there, and turning them into something that he wants them to be. And like, so him and No Face are insistent on them releasing Azrael, right? Like they won't listen to Dr. Joy, which also goes in with Pig and almost that chaos, right? Where it's still just a bit off.
Yeah. So when all this is going on, or predicting it's about to go on, Dr. Joy does, call the police, and Stone, who's been our main cop, whose kid was threatened last issue, is like leading a charge, and is going to shoot the 10-eyed man, but Dr. Joy intervenes and jumps in and gets shot instead. And then 10-eyed man bashes the head of Stone against the wall, presumably killing him. And the end of the issue is that 10-eyed man goes out into the city and is like basking in the moonlight, practically dancing. And
there's that panel where he's bending over backwards, like the pose, like very much dancing.
Yeah, and Dr. Joy's narration is just kind of like as she is dying, like she's made him feel free. She's helped at least one patient technically, and maybe that's enough. So it's a pretty sinister ending where she's basically just been consumed by the city and by the madness. Yeah, the madness.
Yeah.
So
it's very Lovecraftian in that way, right? Like it's all about the madness, and she eventually got pulled too close, and it ended her demise. But I like what Tonight Man tells her was like it's one of those things of, I told you I'd be safe as long as I do my rituals, and Tonight Man did the rituals, and her taking the bullet for him kept him safe.
Yeah, so in his mind it worked.
Right.
And who's to say it didn't?
Right. And it's one of those, type things. So, but yeah, no, I was not expecting this ending like this. Like it to be so, what's the word?
Bleak.
Like, what's that, Connor?
It's bleak most, even though there's like a bittersweet tinge to it because the Ten-Eyed Man has his moment of
freedom,
being free and presumably not going to hurt anyone immediately. It doesn't feel like he's off.
No, but he has to replace those eyes.
Yeah, I felt like bleak was the only way this was going. I was not expecting any remotely happy ending.
I was expecting bleak.
Well, not a happy ending, but just I expected her to almost be like, get pulled in almost that she gets driven insane as well. Not that, this was actually going to be her death.
I mean, she does get drawn in and potentially goes insane first. So
yeah, she has one moment of clarity to call the police, but otherwise, you could argue that she is just off the deep end, and maybe has been this entire time.
Right.
Whether that was A-Day that did that to her, whether that was just working with all these types of patient for years, but the madness got to her. I do love the page where you see like all of the various villains chained up from Azrael when the police are arriving. It just has a very kind of Hellraiser look to it, which I kind of dig. So that was nice. Yeah, it's a decent ending to this story. I don't know if the story of the whole arc overall is exactly what I thought it was going to be after that first issue, because I still think the first issue is my favorite issue of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I certainly did enjoy a lot of the twists and turns, though.
It's probably not what I expected it to be, but I enjoyed every moment of it. So I'm not mad about that.
No, I mean, I think it was the right length. I don't think this is something that should have been 12 issues around like that. I think 6 was the right amount. And, so it's done. It'll be a trade now. That'll sell a little bit of copies.
Yeah. It'll probably sell a reasonable amount just based off of the Arkham name. Tends to have enough pull with casual audiences that people might pick it up and check it out because of that alone.
I think fans of of either the artist or the writer will check it out, and it'll do well for that reason.
I think fans of either of those definitely should check it out if they haven't already for whatever reason. But because I think it definitely it delivers on what you expect from both of them.
Because I think it appeals probably more to people who are fans of either the creative team or both than it maybe does. Like I think some people will buy it because it's called Arkham City, but I think a lot of people who buy it because it's called that might not necessarily get what they're expecting or be happy with what they get, because
that's probably true. Yeah,
because it's a weirder take on things. But that's not to say that I'm saying that that's a bad thing, because I think it's great that it's unique and different and it's its own thing.
As someone who likes Waters and really likes Danny's work, and came into that first issue excited because of them, and even though it didn't go where I expected from the first issue tonally, I think it delivered on the feeling, the atmosphere throughout based off of that first issue.
Yeah.
And I think in that way it's definitely a success.
Yeah. All right, rate it then. We're rating the final issue. All right. Matt, what are you giving it?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Okay.
Go with an 8.5.
All right, 8 and 8.5. I think I'll stick with the fly 8 as well, like Matt. But there you go.